What's up, guys? This is TwoTenEast back with my review series for the K-drama Navillera, take your pick. Apologies for my ridiculous voice today. I'm stuffed up with allergies, so yeah, that's a thing. But anyways, let's get into talking about this week's episodes 9 and 10. Alright, so Chae-rock finally tells Seong-gwan about Mr. Shim and his Alzheimer's, and first of all, I think this was just really good for Chae-rock to have somebody else to share this secret with, bear this burden, and it's great that it's somebody finally in the family. And I was interested to see what Seong-gwan's reaction was gonna be. He calls kind of a dick dad dude and asks if he would tell Yun-ho if he was sick. And his response is basically that parents don't want their children to know or to think that they're struggling or that they're weak. And I get it, like a parent's pride and everything. So I think based on that advice, he makes a decision not to tell Mr. Shim that he knows or to tell anyone else really. And he basically is going along with Chae-rock's decision to just let Mr. Shim tell people if they're gonna find out. It's gonna be him that will tell them. So just as I predicted and was hoping for, Seong-gwan is now going to make his documentary about his father and his pursuit of ballet and learning ballet. And I think this is great for a bunch of different reasons, right? Seong-gwan gets closer to his dad and, as we see towards the end of the episode, finds a new perspective on him. He used to think he was kind of, not really a loser, but what was it, like someone who loses a lot or something? But now he sees his father in a new light. He feels like he's changed recently and has become this person that's determined to win, and that's very touching and inspiring to Seong-gwan, and ultimately it brings them closer together as father and son, which is great. It's also kind of a two birds with one stone thing, because now that Seong-gwan knows about his father and his Alzheimer's, he kind of is able to use this documentary as an excuse to look after his father and stay close by his side. And I really hope this documentary turns out like I was thinking before, where it kind of becomes Mr. Shim's memory. It will take the place of his memory and allow him to remember what he did, his training, his relationship with Chae-rock, and maybe hopefully his eventual performance on stage. Also add the fact that Seong-gwan is a doctor, so he's probably the best person to be looking after his father. I also really like the added side effect that Seong-gwan and Chae-rock are now becoming close themselves, because they both share this secret, this burden of knowing about Mr. Shim's Alzheimer's, and now they've joined forces kind of, and they're developing a friendship for sure, and I love it. Alright, so in this episode, we get a concrete goal for Mr. Shim. He's going to audition in a month and try out for this opportunity to be able to perform on stage. And Chae-rock is going pretty hard on him. Even Seong-gwan remarks to Chae-rock on the rooftop that maybe you're going too hard on him. And I really like Chae-rock's response to this. He says that basically, since Mr. Shim is giving it his all as a student, so should he as a teacher. And it would be basically disrespectful to Mr. Shim's resolve to go easy on him. Anyways, I'm just so excited for this audition and training for it, and I really hope Mr. Shim can do it. And he has to come up with a routine, and Chae-rock's trying to get him to consider other things, but Mr. Shim is just completely adamant about Swan Lake. It's Swan Lake or nothing for him. It's all he's ever wanted to do. And yeah, again, I really just hope he's able to do this. I hope all the other things he's dealing with don't keep him from doing it, but it is going to be tough. He's not only dealing with the mental aspect of his Alzheimer's, but also the physical aspect of his body being old and not being able to really keep up. So it's really a case of a 2-on-1 with the soul versus mind and body. And it's going to be epic, but we just got to root for Mr. Shim and hope he succeeds. In terms of memory slip-ups for Mr. Shim, it wasn't that bad through most of the episode. He messes up the coffee orders for Seong-gwan, gets him a latte instead of an Americano, but honestly, that's not that bad. But yeah, then at the end of the episode, there's that scene in the bathroom where poor Mr. Shim. I really feel for the guy. He's struggling to remember, and he's so frustrated, and Chae-rock has to barge in, break the door down to get to him. And yeah, that was a really rough scene. I hope he's okay. And the way this episode ends, it seems like maybe Che-Rock is going to get the confession out of Mr. Shim that he does in fact have Alzheimer's. We'll just have to see what happens in the next episode. Okay, lastly, Che-Rock's dad comes to town and he sees Che-Rock's friend and learns that the blonde guy is the one that injured Che-Rock, which he didn't know. He only knew that Che-Rock was injured. And he finally reunites with Che-Rock. When Che-Rock comes home, he sees his dad is there and they have dinner together, and it seems like they're reconnecting and things are going well. They even plan to go to the bathhouse together. That's great. And then his dad stays overnight. So yeah, everything seems to be going well with that. I'm glad that's happening. All right, so now let's check in with everyone else. Okay, Mr. Key becomes a coach. That seems to be going well so far. It seems like he's enjoying it and getting something out of it. And all these other ancillary characters and their storylines seem to just be constructing and fortifying this theme of people chasing their dreams and finding fulfillment in the things that they do. Mr. Key obviously wanted to be a world famous ballet dancer, but now he's finding that he can get fulfillment out of coaching other people. Something he started with coaching Che-Rock and is now expanding into becoming a full-time coach to a bunch of people. Then we've got Yun-Ho, and honestly, I'm a little disappointed in how much her character has kind of been sidelined. Her job at the radio station seems to be going well, and we get a scene where she's talking to her mom about how she's enjoying it more and more. But yeah, she's barely in these last couple episodes, and I was hoping, if it wasn't going to be the romance between her and Che-Rock, that's fine, but I was hoping we'd just get a little bit more of her character at least. So yeah, I hope somehow she gets more connected into the main storyline, much like Seong-Gwan has become. Okay, and the very last thing is that this could be nothing, but it could be something, I guess. Yun-Ho's dad, the kind of a dick dad dude, is coming home late from work. Could this be something? I don't know. Maybe I'm just traumatized from Love featuring Marriage and Divorce. Is he cheating? Is he doing something else? Could it be something good maybe? I don't know. What do you guys think? Or maybe it's just nothing and he's just overworking. Who knows? All right, let's get into episode 10. So in this episode, in the beginning, we get a much fuller picture of what happened with Blondie and Che-Rock's dad and the soccer team. It looks like he didn't make the final roster back then. He put everything into it, his effort, but also his dad's insurance money. He put that all on the line and didn't really have anything to fall back on. So when he didn't make the team, it was devastating for him. And the reason he didn't make the team was because the dad didn't want him to jeopardize his entire career by going ahead with this bad knee that he has. And when Che-Rock's dad and Blondie are talking now in the present, or actually it's the flashback within the flashback, but back to the original flashback because Che-Rock's dad is remembering talking to Blondie on the bus. Okay, you get the idea. Anyways, they were talking and Che-Rock's dad takes full responsibility, which I think is really cool, and says not only is this his fault, but he also encourages Blondie and tells him, hey, you can start over. You can still reach your dream. It's not too late. Don't give up. So Blondie breaks down, and I'm sorry for being wrong about him when him and his friends confronted Mr. Shim in the park. You guys corrected me in the comments, so thank you for that. He wasn't actually trying to do anything that bad. So I'm back on board with Blondie coming to our side. I hope this sets him on the right path, and it seems like that's what's starting to happen during this episode. He's following through on his promise to tell Che-Rock if he sees Mr. Shim out in public looking lost. He also ends up, of course, having lunch with Mr. Shim himself and getting advice and encouragement from him. And he's out there working out again and going for runs. So it really seems like he's seriously considering starting over and going back and trying to pursue soccer again. And that's great because he had a lot of talent and had a lot of potential. The coach knew it, he knows it, even Mr. Shim knows it, and we all know that he should do it because he definitely doesn't have a lot of talent for fucking billiards. Despite hanging out there so much, he got fucking dusted by Mr. Shim. Also, you gotta love that moment where Mr. Shim does the, anime ninja sneak up move on Blondie when he's on the phone with Che-Rock, and Mr. Shim goes from sitting on the bench to appearing right beside Blondie, and Blondie's like, We also get confirmation during the lunch that Blondie has with Mr. Shim that Blondie is, in fact, another tsundere anime character confirmed. But yeah, I think we got him, guys. I think he's on our side now. He's part of the squad. So yeah, welcome, Blondie. Okay, when this happened, I was like freaking out. Don't play with me, man. Don't do this to me, bro. I couldn't handle Mrs. Shim being sick. Also, she gets woozy for that one moment. Thankfully, she goes to the doctor, and the doctor clears it up, says she's okay. I just couldn't handle it if she was sick too. But during that visit to the clinic, we get this moment where she says that I can't afford to get sick, and Songwan kind of notices that, and yeah, afterwards it's revealed Mrs. Shim has known about Mr. Shim's Alzheimer's for a little while now. She overheard Chae-Rock telling Songwan. I'm glad to see she's putting on a brave face and saying she can handle it and telling Songwan to live his life. And yeah, at least more people in the family now know and can help with this situation. And we see later on, even kind of a dick dad dude finds out as well. But this is so tough. And she's another person who finds out that also agrees to wait for Mr. Shim to come out and say it himself that he has Alzheimer's, which of course he still hasn't done. So during this episode, we have this arc of Chae-Rock initially thinking that Mr. Shim should quit ballet and wants to stop the lessons. And it's pretty obvious that he's just doing this because he's scared. He's worried for Mr. Shim. And that scene in the beginning of the episode where he tells Mr. Shim, "You can't do this anymore. You can't do it. Just give up." It's just really heartbreaking. And he just runs away like, no! But yeah, it really sucks. And I'm glad that at the end, Mr. Shim is able to convince him. What I loved in this episode as well is that Mr. Shim, even when he isn't having the lessons with Chae-Rock and like lying to everybody else about it, he's still practicing and doing his thing and keeps grinding, and you just love to see it. Also, that whole dynamic with Mr. Shim and Songwan where he has to pretend with Songwan that he's not on the outs with Chae-Rock and the studio's closed and the ceiling's leaking and all the excuses. It's pretty hilarious, and Songwan is just constantly looking confused. Then there's that added twist that Mr. Shim now knows that Songwan knows about his Alzheimer's, but Songwan doesn't know that Mr. Shim knows about him knowing, so he's still pretending that he doesn't know. Yeah, pretty great stuff. All right, so in terms of Alzheimer's slip-ups this episode, we've got the moment where he almost walks into the middle of the street and gets hit by a car. He leaves the pot on the stove at home, and then obviously at the end, he goes wandering off. Although, I don't know if that was actually Alzheimer's or just him being really down and depressed. So both Mr. Shim and Chae-Rock have upcoming auditions or whatever competitions. Chae-Rock has the thing in Moscow that's in a month, so he's going to start practicing for that and getting ready for that. Obviously, the first time around, he missed his chance at a competition because of the injury, and I guess some time has passed now, so the next one is coming up. And then we have Mr. Shim, who's going to audition to be on the special stage, I think it was called. During a meeting Mr. Key has with the other guy from the studio that he's coaching at, he asks if he can recommend somebody, and later the ex-wife gets it out of him that he's talking about Mr. Shim. So I'm definitely hyped about that. I hope he can be successful. I hope Mr. Shim nails the audition, and I hope he can perform on stage. We've got 2 episodes left for that to happen, so yep, I'm really hoping for it. All right, before I get to the ending of this episode, we've got to talk about everyone else. So first, we've got kind of a dick dad dude's workplace company is going to shit, I guess. I don't know exactly what his company does or what it is, but something is down 90% principal something or other. So that sucks. And he's in the middle of dealing with that when he finds out about his dad gone missing, and then obviously he later finds out that his dad has Alzheimer's as well from Song Guan. So it's nice to see that he drops everything for his dad, and obviously they have that emotional moment, but yeah, that's not good for his work, I guess. Then we've also got the daughter, the wife of the politician slash college dude, and she tells her husband she's giving up on having kids, and she's really sad about that, and I feel for her. I'm glad her husband was so supportive and at least, you know, tries to comfort her. Then we've got Yun Ho, and again, not much from her this episode. We're just really seeing her character being sidelined this week. So we do find out that her radio station's ratings are pretty low. They just came in and it's not looking good, and they might even get canceled. So that sucks also, I guess. And everyone's company that they're working at is looking bad, especially in the kind of a dick dad dude's family. One thing I just thought of now as I'm recording this is, I guess since everybody is freaking out about the company not doing well, maybe more people will go for consultations, and kind of a dick dad dude's wife will get more time doing stuff that actually matters because she'll have people coming into her office more. So I guess that might be a silver lining. All right, let's talk about the ending, because I loved this ending scene where Mr. Shim dances for Che-Rock. I love how that parallels to the other episode where Che-Rock dances for Mr. Shim, and now Mr. Shim is dancing for Che-Rock, and so much is communicated in this dance without having to say any words. Mr. Shim is showing Che-Rock, yes, I can still do this. Yes, I want you to still teach me. It's still worth it. I'm still going to pursue this no matter what. This is how much it means to me, and this is how much I enjoy it, and even if I'm losing my memory, my body will remember, just like you said. And it's just such a beautiful scene with him dancing in the middle of the road, and even kind of a dick dad dude is like feeling the vibes. He's like, oh shit, this is crazy. And Che-Rock gets it, of course. And afterwards, Mr. Shim does actually speak words and tell Che-Rock, hey, like, I'm scared too, but let's still do this. And it's just a great moment. And Che-Rock's back on board. We're back on track for doing this ballet thing and getting to the audition, and I can't wait for the finale for the last 2 episodes. I am going to rage so hard if he does not reach his goal. We have to see Mr. Shim perform on stage. There was so much emotional buildup, so much character development. I really don't think the show is gonna screw us over and have him not perform or not reach his goal. But at the same time, I think there's a pretty good chance it's going to be a bittersweet ending. I'm hoping it's something like he gets there, he performs, he makes it, but then maybe right afterwards his Alzheimer's gets really bad, and then he forgets a lot of it, but at least he has, hopefully, the video footage of him performing. I'm assuming Song Guan is going to film his performance. So in that way, the documentary and that footage will be able to preserve those memories in a video format for Mr. Shim, even when his actual memory has gone. But yeah, I'm super excited for this finale. That's it for this week. I will see you all next week for the final 2 episodes. Have a great day, guys.